Okay, so this dough with the oat flour is definitely easier to roll out and softer than using the whole wheat flour. I'm using the grid of my baking sheet. I've done these in 3-inch squares. Now I'm going to place some fig in the center, and then I'm going to lift up the corners and pinch You see, it's nice and sticky. I don't have to worry about wetting it or anything. And there's my cookie. And let me see. I didn't have to roll anything. I just roll it out. Place some fig in there again. Probably like a teaspoon of puree. Bring up a corner. Bring up the other corner. Pinch. Bring up a corner. Pinch. Slide underneath. Bring up the final corner and pinch. And we have kind of, I think that it's almost like a fig tart almost. I like this. So some more fig. I got this idea basically after playing around with fig wraps, or not fig wraps, wonton wraps. The ones that we were playing with are square, not round, so we had to do a version. The whole idea of cutting a square one is you're not dealing with a cookie cutter and then having to roll out the dough again and again because you have edges. I mean, this time when I rolled it out, I didn't get a perfect, I do have leftover dough, but that's all good. I'll work with that. I'm pinching the bottom corners so that when the cookie starts to bake, it will keep the juices inside the cookie. Okay, you know, this is even better than building balls and then trying to push the center in to make a spot for the fig to go into. And on a side note, the fig filling that I'm using is the leftover from the first batch of fig Newtons I made. So 2 corners on the side, pinch, bring the next one up, pinch, and then bring the last one up and pinch, pinch. Okay, I seriously like this procedure. All right, what can we do here? Well, we could make a traditional fig. What do? We put some fig in there. Fold it over. And now we got a traditional shape fig. And guess what? I don't have to roll out any more of this cookie dough. I think that's pretty smart. Okay, so some more fig. Make sure you don't place it too close to the edge so that it allows for a pinch. Fold it over, pinch, pinch, and voila, fig. Fig Newton. So actually that is, let me see, how many is that? That's 4 different shapes I've done working with the dough. Roll it over, give it a squish. Oh, I overfilled that one, didn't I? All's good in love and war. Okay, that was pretty easy too. Now I'm going to just give my, it's called fondant fun map. Not map, mat. I had one that I used to use when I was making soap figures. And it's great because you have measurements on here, and you'd be surprised if you're trying to cut something straight like I just did, you'd be surprised how helpful that mat can be. Okay, so half of the cookie dough I made is dealt with. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the tartish. No, it's not a tart. Yeah, I guess it could be considered a tart or a turnover shape. And then 3 of the others, the sort of Fig Newton bar shape. Gotta love my dogs. They're my kids. Okay, so if I roll this in the center, I can get a feel for how my shape is going here. I need some more flour. It's getting sticky. That way I can turn it. Give it a turn. See, I'm not going for a round shape as much as I'm going for a rectangular shape. And the more my edges will go along my flat lines on my, and let's see if I can flip this. I'm going to try and flip it. It's getting sticky on the other side. Ooh, I don't know. Let's see. There we go. So it's about 1/4 inch thick I'm aiming for with rolling this out. Okay. Make sure nothing's sticking. Perfect. All right, now I want to butt this up against a line, close as I can. I have a silicone brush where I can take off excess flour if I have too much on. Okay. And now I'm going to cut using the guideline on the pastry mat. Oh, I'm a little crooked, but that's okay. 1, 2, just a second here, get this edge. It's not rocket science, and it doesn't need to be perfect, but it helps. I think we'll go here. And then I want 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Well, it's consistent because I've basically got the same rollout as I did on the last one. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. One, two, three. Oh my goodness. That worked out so good. And then I think what I'll do with this last little bit of cookie dough, because I have some ends from the last one, is I will make a different shape again, which will be the ball. The ball cookies. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, some fig. Oh, I want a little more in there. I might run out of my puree. Before I run out of cookie dough. But I'm not surprised because I am using leftover puree from the first recipe. So, note to self, make twice the dough for the puree aspect. What's nice about these cookies is you can make all kinds of puree for the inside of this cookie. You can do a date mixture with apricots, which I've done in the past for my date square. Date square recipe. I've done the puree with apricots that I had dehydrated a previous summer. Well, definitely running out of puree, so that's cool. It's all good. I have more figs, so I'm going to make more puree. I absolutely love these. This recipe, the cookie, Fig Newton, whatever we're going to call it. It is filling, it is tasty, it is satisfying. I eat one for breakfast and I'm ready to go. Because the dough has the dates in it, it's got oat flour, the fiber that you get from everything, the oats, the figs, the dates. I mean, holy, talk about a breakfast. This would put a granola bar to shame, I think. Let me see where my little spatula is. Where did I put it? Yoo-hoo, little spatula. Oh, there it is. I'll get the last of the puree out of my bowl because it's gold. And I'm going to bake these. I forget what I baked these at. Just a second. They get baked at 350 degrees for 12 minutes. See, even though I have a knot corner on that one side, it doesn't matter. Oops, I tore my corner. We'll use a little puree to make that one stick. Haha! Ta-da! So I have just a little bit of the cookie dough. Actually, I have a fair bit of cookie dough left over. So I'm just wondering what... I've decided to do the cookie dough ingredients, the wet ingredient part of it, and I'm using dates. I'm using a brick of dates and I need 1 cup. I like this, and the reason I like this is it doesn't require any cooking. I don't have to cook these. By the time I puree it, it's like the puree that we were using for the fig Newtons. So it's actually reasonably quick. So instead of having fig Newtons on the inside, we're going to have dates on the inside. So we're making a date puree to go inside the cookie as the fruit. And I don't have any oranges today, so I'm using mango juice. It's Ronda on the fly in the kitchen. Okay, so once I start to get a feel for a recipe, I go into improvise mode with what I have in the kitchen. So in a lot of cases, a recipe can be different, slightly different each time. And I'm glad I'm videotaping because I will have my own memory jogger should this be a success or a oh my goodness. So I am putting dates and figs on my shopping list as I'm starting to run out. Now, originally the recipe called for a 1/4 cup of juice. I'm making it a 1/2 cup of juice because I really want the pasty puree aspect of it. So 1 cup of dates, a half a cup of, in this case, mango juice, a 1/4 cup of my homemade applesauce. And if ever you want to learn how easy it is to make applesauce, because I use applesauce as a substitute for eggs or fat in other videos, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And now I'm going to take this over to my Ninja and puree this mixture. So I've made it quite thin and pureed. I didn't want it to be too chunky. See that? It's perfect. I didn't have to cook it. And it'll work great as a inside fill for these cookies. So what do we call these? If they're date cookies and they're not fig Newtons, they're date Newtons? Are they date Newtons? Well, now I have tons of puree, so in a couple of days when I want to make fresh Newtons again, I will be able to get to it right away. And my spoons are where? There they are. So some puree. Lift a corner, give it a squish. Get it closer so I feel like I'm reaching. Lift another corner, give it a squish. Give it a turn. Lift another corner and voila. There is a date fig. No, a date Newton. And onto a parchment paper lined cookie sheet. And then I have the traditional shape ones that I need to deal with, which are on the side. Give it a, make sure it's all not sticking to the cutting mat or the rolling mat. And I'm placing them on the edge because that's the room in the cookie pan. I was really wanting to make these for a couple of days, and even today I don't know, it was like I knew I wanted to get creative with it. Oh, I got room for one more. It's like this whole thing is just working out so like I planned it. Sort of like when I was making my spinach lasagna with my leftover pasta sauce yesterday. It turned out like I planned it, to the right amount of sauce to create the lasagna. When I didn't, I just went to town and cooked it, or assembled it, I guess. Okay, so in the other case of the cookie shape was roll it out, make a ball, or not roll it out, make a ball. So get, you know, a good sized ball, and then with your thumbs or your finger, whichever, make a nest for the fruit filling and place it on the cookie sheet. And guess what? Ta-da! I have no cookie dough left over. I have 3 different shaped ways to eat the Newtons, date or fig. Make a ball, place it in my hand, start pushing in the center. I have to tell you, my homemade oat flour is working like a charm. I have been very creative today. I'm so happy. Ronda in the kitchen, happy, happy, happy. If you have any questions or suggestions, I'd be happy to have the interaction. I'm always willing to learn from other people if they're willing to share. Please like, subscribe. Okay, so as you can see, we have a fig Newton shape. We have a almost like a tart shape without using a tart shell. And then we have, I call it a nest, sort of like a nest. Go out and watch it. The last time I made these designs, they did not come, the puree stayed in the center of the nest. Ta-da! Now I'm going to bake these at 350 degrees in my small convection oven for 12 minutes. After 12 minutes in the oven, they came out. I've put them on a cooling rack, and now it's called taste test time. I had a problem with the cookie dough being too tough to roll out, make balls with. It not tough, dry. It was dry. So with the homemade oat flour from Rolled Oats, Quick Oats, it was a much nicer cookie dough to work with. And then, as luck would have it, I ran out of the puree of fig, so I made the wet ingredients for the cookie dough and created an uncooked puree out of dates for these cookies here. And I think 1 or 2 here, I don't know. They really don't look a whole lot different. This looks shiny right now as it's just come out of the oven, more so than the fig one does. And you know this is fig because you can see all the different little seeds in there, whereas the date one doesn't have that. So I'm looking to see, I already can't remember. I thought I did one of these ones with the date, but I'm seeing seeds there and maybe there, although that one looks a little shiny like this one does. I don't know. Anyways, time for the taste test. Taste test. Do I like the cookie dough or do I like the other cookie dough? I'm going to try a little one. This one is fig. Major difference with the cookie dough, although I like the hardiness of the cookie dough with the whole wheat flour, so Now I'm thinking, if I did this recipe again, maybe I would use 50-50, so half oat flour, half whole wheat flour, and maybe the hardiness of the whole wheat flour would be there. But this is a much lighter, flakier, almost, if you could call it flaky. And now I'm going to try the Date Newton. You have Fig Newton and then you have Date Newton. So here goes the Date Newton. Absolutely. They both work. And again, you could do a 50-50 mix, although I don't know that I would have to cook the puree to do a 50-50 mix because the figs wouldn't puree the same way the dates do. That's a do-over. Keep coming back because I'll be doing more. Please subscribe. You might have noticed that there's no sugar added in the puree, and that's because the figs and the dates are high in natural sugars, and the body likes the natural sugars better than some of the like white sugar. White sugar, but brown sugar is like white sugar done in molasses.